Breaking news! There's a comparison coming out of Denver right now that has Broncos fans talking everywhere, and if what is being discussed inside the organization actually becomes reality, the entire NFL could be looking at a completely different version of the Broncos offense in 2026. The excitement surrounding Jaylen Waddle's arrival continues to grow, but now a new detail has emerged that is creating even more anticipation about what this offense could become. Before we get into all of that, make sure you hit the like button if you truly believe the Broncos offense is ready to take a major step forward this season. And if you're optimistic about the future of this team, comment right now. Go Broncos! Our best days are coming. Now let's get straight to the biggest development. The discussion began with pure excitement surrounding the fact that Jaylen Waddle is officially a Denver Bronco. The enthusiasm was impossible to hide, and that excitement only increased after comments made by offensive coordinator Webb during his first media appearance in his new role. When asked about Waddle and what he brings to Denver's offense, Webb reportedly had a very direct reaction. According to the discussion, Webb simply said, "Oh my God, he's so good." But what really caught everyone's attention wasn't just the praise for Waddle's talent. It was the comparison that followed. Webb discussed similarities between Bo Nix entering year 3 and another quarterback situation he witnessed firsthand during his time with Buffalo. He referenced Josh Allen entering his 3rd season and the impact that Stefon Diggs had after arriving in Buffalo. Webb explained that he sees similarities in what is beginning to develop in Denver right now. That statement immediately sparked conversation. Not because anyone is saying these are identical players. Not because the styles of play are exactly the same. But because of the potential growth that can happen when a young quarterback is paired with a premier receiving weapon. The discussion emphasized that Josh Allen experienced a dramatic leap after Buffalo added Stefon Diggs. Statistics mentioned showed a significant improvement in completion percentage, passing production, touchdowns, and overall efficiency following that move. And that is where the excitement surrounding Bo Nix begins. The belief presented was that adding a true elite receiving weapon can make life dramatically easier for a developing quarterback. Webb's comments suggested that some of those same conditions may now exist in Denver. Throughout the conversation, there was also a major distinction made regarding the Broncos' receiving room. Courtland Sutton received significant praise and respect, with the discussion describing him as one of the most important receivers the Broncos have had. However, the argument presented was that Jaylen Waddle brings a different level of explosiveness and game-changing ability to the offense. The discussion repeatedly pointed toward Waddle's ability to create separation, generate explosive plays, and impact games after the catch. Even during what was described as a down season, Waddle still posted impressive production. The conversation highlighted 64 receptions, 910 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns while continuing to rank highly in several efficiency metrics. That is what has many people excited. Because if those numbers came during a season that wasn't considered his best, many are wondering what could happen if he reaches another level in Denver. The discussion also pointed out that Waddle's skill set brings something unique to this offense. His speed, route running ability, and effectiveness after the catch were all highlighted as traits that can immediately impact the Broncos' passing attack. And perhaps the most intriguing part of this entire conversation involves the relationship between Bo Nix and Jaylen Waddle moving forward. The focus was not necessarily on comparing the players themselves to previous stars. Instead, it was about the possibility of a major year 3 jump for Bo Nix. The belief expressed was that a quarterback entering his 3rd season, combined with the addition of a high-level receiving target, creates the opportunity for substantial offensive growth. That possibility is what has generated so much discussion. Because if Denver's offense takes that type of leap, the Broncos could suddenly become one of the most dangerous units in football. Another interesting detail mentioned was the role Webb may play in all of this. While the offense still operates within Sean Payton's system, Webb now has responsibilities as offensive coordinator, and his previous experience watching successful quarterback-receiver partnerships develop was viewed as potentially valuable. The expectation discussed was not that Denver would simply copy anything from previous teams. Rather, the idea is that Webb can take lessons from what worked elsewhere and apply concepts that best fit the strengths of Bo Nix and Jaylen Waddle. That could be one of the biggest storylines to watch throughout the season. Because while talent matters, understanding how to maximize that talent often determines whether an offense becomes good or truly special. And based on everything being discussed right now, there appears to be genuine belief that Jaylen Waddle can become a central figure in helping elevate this offense. There is excitement, there is anticipation, and there's growing curiosity about how quickly the chemistry between Bo Nix and Jaylen Waddle can develop once the games begin. But that's where things get even more interesting, because the conversation also revealed bold expectations for Wadd's production, discussed how he fits into the Broncos' wide receiver hierarchy, and raised major questions about which pass catchers could emerge behind him in the receiving room. And honestly, Broncos country, that may be where this story becomes even bigger. One of the most fascinating parts of this entire discussion is that the excitement surrounding Jaylen Wadd is not simply about adding another talented receiver. The belief being expressed is that he changes the entire structure of the offense and creates opportunities for everyone around him. Because when defenses prepare for a player with Wadd's speed and playmaking ability, they cannot approach coverage the same way they would against a normal receiving core. That creates opportunities. That creates mismatches. And most importantly, that creates easier throws for the quarterback. Throughout the discussion, there was a strong emphasis on the idea that elite receivers make life easier for young quarterbacks. And if that proves true in Denver, Bo Nix could be one of the biggest beneficiaries. The conversation even referenced statistical projections that suggest a major jump could be possible for Nix if everything comes together. Now obviously, projections are just projections. Nothing is guaranteed. But the optimism surrounding the offense is becoming impossible to ignore. And a huge reason for that optimism is the skill set that Wadd brings after the catch. One statistic mentioned during the discussion stood out in particular. According to the Denver Post quote referenced, Wadd generated more yards after the catch during his 2025 season than every Broncos wide receiver except Troy Franklin. Think about that for a moment. Even during a season that many viewed as disappointing by his standards, Wadd was still producing explosive plays once the ball was in his hands. And that's exactly the type of trait that offensive coordinators love. Because not every completion needs to travel 40 yards through the air. Sometimes a short completion becomes a huge gain because the receiver creates the rest himself. That is one of the reasons so much attention is being placed on the potential chemistry between Bo Nix and Jaylen Wadd. If Nix can consistently get the ball into Wadd's hands, the explosive plays may follow naturally. But the conversation didn't stop there. It also shifted toward how the rest of the receiving room could take shape. One of the most interesting debates involved the battle behind Wadd and Courtland Sutton. According to the discussion, there is a growing belief that Pat Bryant could emerge as the third receiver in the pecking order. That caught a lot of attention because many fans naturally focus on names like Troy Franklin when discussing the future of the receiving room. However, route participation numbers discussed during the video suggested that Pat Bryant was earning significant opportunities and was heavily involved whenever healthy. The reasoning presented was simple. Bryant's style fits what the coaching staff values. He was described as a chain mover, someone capable of consistently helping the offense stay on schedule and move the football. Meanwhile, Troy Franklin remains an intriguing piece because of his route running ability and overall potential. However, the discussion acknowledged that consistency issues affected several receivers last season. What makes all of this so exciting for Broncos fans is the depth that suddenly appears to exist at the position. The projected hierarchy discussed was Jaylen Wadd as the primary receiving threat, Courtland Sutton as an established veteran presence, and Pat Bryant emerging into a significant role, while players like Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin continue competing for opportunities. That creates options, and options create flexibility, something every offense wants. But perhaps the biggest takeaway from the entire discussion was that Denver may finally possess the ingredients necessary to unlock another level offensively. Not because of one player, not because of one coach, but because several important pieces appear to be coming together simultaneously. Bo Nix continues developing. Jaylen Wadd arrives